some thing we are always interested and we care about these days. We've got smartphones, and these smartphones not only using as phones to make calls and receive calls and send text message, but we are storing lots of private information, and important information may be related to your private photos, private data, names, and and bank applications, make transactions, patients' records, all this kind of private and personal information. So the authentication, how we can gain access to this device, is quite important. It's like surfing like the gate of this device, and once you get in, so may be able also to get private information, and which may be putting you at risk. So how we can use our behavior, not just using the pen and the graphical user interface, or the our face or our finger to gain access to our smartphone, but how the behavior, the way we behave, the way we are using the smartphones itself. There is lots of behaviors could be utilized and maybe cheaply used as well, instead of installing extra devices or extra sensors collecting the data. So the question for this talk would be around, can our behaviors be used to authenticate us to the smartphones? So let's start first by giving some authentication schemes already used. Usually, maybe you are using either these username and passwords, or the PIN number to get access to the smartphone, or graphical patterns, how we can just draw some patterns and then to access the phone with it, or using face recognition, selfing it ourselves, or using our fingerprint, is quite common as well. And sometimes we may be using the continuous authentication, and this is quite important point in sensitive applications like banking, for example, how we can keep authenticating the process, whether this legitimate user is still using the application, or this is maybe not the legitimate user. So banks, for example, putting like time out. Once you are not using the application, they're gonna just invoke or end the decision, and you need to re-authenticate again. It's kind of how continuously authenticate the users, or maybe implicitly without just having explicit way to authenticate yourself to the smartphone. Or can using multi-factors, as you maybe, it's quite trendy these days, to have a password and username, and then the service is going to send you or challenge you with a code, and then be able also to get back this code to the provider, will allow you to access the service. So generally, we can authenticate ourselves either using something we know, like the password, or something we have, like our face, our fingerprint, or something you are. So sorry, something you have, something you can hold, like the tokens you can get. Like with, for example, you are using this bank card, and with some authentication as well to access the bank ATM machine, or something you are, something in yourself, and something you are, maybe you're gonna classify it or divide it to two parts later as well. So something you know. So as you said, this is the passwords and the graphical passwords or the PIN numbers. There's something you've been given, and you need to memorize it and to make it unique, maybe from application to application. And this is not something would be easy, and this is something with the challenge of, or the problems of something you know, and you may forget that. And with lots of passwords being using these days, it's very challenging just to remember all such passwords. Maybe you're going to use like application to manage our passwords, but we still are in the risk. We may face this bottleneck problem. If you forgot the main password, to some reasons, you're going to maybe having denial of service to yourself for other services. And these passwords in general are exposed to or to different type of attacks, like phishing, brute force, and shoulder surfing attack. Guessing, yeah, so anyone can just guess the passwords, or brute force some application just to try all possible passwords till they gain access to the system, and if the passwords are weak, are not well chosen, so it's going to be put your data press. Or shoulder surfing attack. This is like someone just behind you watching what you are typing, and then you can use get your phone later or any computer, and then try just to use what they've noticed. And shoulder surfing could be like a key logger. They can just log what you are typing, and they can then analyze it and they get the password. Or this is the second general scheme of authentication. Something you have, some banks, they give you like a special device. When you try to access the service online, you need to generate like passcode or a one-time password and use it, and it cannot be used again. So this is now additional devices being used or need to be used and crafted for the authentication itself. Or you can use it for using like in the two-factor authentication procedure or method. Now you have to have a mobile phone to be able to send you a challenge to it, like a text message or other type of password. Like in the banks, they give you like memory stick, be able just to get like dongles, so you can always use it when to access the service. Still, I think this is maybe subject to man-in-the-middle attack. If the network, for example, being attacked, so people not able to use this two-factor authentication, or this, something you have this password, or the machine is broken. So you're not able just to use the service till you replace the little device you've got. So still have some problems related to this something you have model as well. So then they introduce, or they find another way with the something you are, something belongs to you. Either this is like physical things you have, or you are, like your finger, your iris, your face, your entire palm. So you can use that, and this is belongs to you. Yeah, definitely will not anyone take it from you. While still there is other problems related to that, like you can I think this is what the second type. Oh, sorry, I just forgot just to classify this something you are to two parts. Something like psychological behavior or behavioral. So something psychological, this is like what we he have, as I said, like finger and like the iris, or the voice you've got. And these are quite, as I said, it's quite proving what the or countermeasuring the attacks and the security threats of the model, something you have or something you know. But the problem with that is still that we are still people just who can use, if you are using selfie, or sorry, using the face recognition or the finger, your image can still be used to extract features and then can be used to authenticate to the system or the service. There's lots of already well-known attacks about that, like called presentation attack. They take pictures from your picture on the social media, and they can use it for the face recognition. And they can even use your fingerprint, like a picture in your finger, and then extract the pictures and then access the system itself. So also the psychological or the biometrics. This is biometrics for psychological class. would be useful and countermeasuring attacks for the something you know or something you have. So, but still having other attacks and other threats, which can be, as I said, this presentation or replay or spoofing attacks. And this might be it's not quite convenient, and it needs hardware as well. Definitely some sensors in your smartphone, and there is still a challenge here. So we need to increase the computational power, and maybe we're using the consuming the batteries just to do the processing of the image, or processing the fingers, processing the face, the entire face, or the iris recognition. So we need a special type of devices, as well as we need to improve the computational capabilities of these smartphones. And there may still there is a limitation as well with the manufacturers themselves. This is why they now moving to the behavior authentication, how we can use what we are, how we can deal with the device. We can deal with the smartphones in general in different ways. The way we touch the screen to get access to do any service, to do any task on the smartphone, or the way we make calls, the way we send the message. Maybe some people sending message always at the morning time to their mother, their father, their loved ones, or sometimes they make calls at a specific time at morning, at evening, at midday, or they access specific websites at particular times. So they can know, like, profiling the users and then using what they are behave with the devices to authenticate them. If you still using the device and you are the legitimate one to use it, so your behavior is still the same. But if your behavior changed, so they may be the mobile would recognize that now you are not the legitimate user, you're the system itself. And nowadays, I just read about a couple of weeks ago that Microsoft are planning, I think by 2030, to remove using password at all, and depends on the behavior to authenticate users to their services in general. And as you can see from the investment wise, there will be a big jump. You can see from these numbers that by 2025, the behavior biometric markets forecasting just to project to reach to 3 million pounds. Sorry, the 3 million and 3 billions and around 4 billion pounds for investment for the behavior-based authentication. So we're gonna just give little more information about the touch-based authentication, how we can use the way we touch the smart screen on the smartphones and authenticate ourselves. So once we start to collect the smartphone and start trying to open it or to access it, we can authenticate ourselves with our smartphones. And if someone just get the smartphone device itself, they will use it by the same way, touching the smartphone. If the touch behavior is different, then we'll not allow them to access the smartphone itself. How does this work? Most of us are using different way to touch the screen. Some people just use the a big part of their finger to touch the screen, and the other may be using a smaller part, and some other maybe are using touching quickly from a key to another key on the keypad, or moving quickly around the screen. So this data will be collected and making like a template or a profile of the touches for this user. And then they will use it as a feature, and they will be then as a machine learning problem, how we can classify the features collected to a particular class or a particular person. So it depends on how we can collect these features. As you can see, maybe we don't need any additional devices, sensors to do so. So we don't need any camera or voice just to record ourselves. or we don't need any power processing even. The features going to be like numbers, and this will be easily to be computed comparing to the image in the finger or the face recognition. So collecting this type of data, and then we can just normally using as machine learning, as I said, problem. What we've done with the teams from different universities, 2014, as you can see, we started this with a master dissertation with a student at the University of South Carolina University. We published 2 papers. The first paper was like kind of surveying, so we can just understand what is the different type of authentications. And then in 2015, we collected data from users, from students from the faculty, and we collected the behavior of their touch to their smart screen, and we published a small study to as an authentication problem. And then 2018, we published another paper with there is now a public data set, which is not a big data set, but still useful for trying different type of machine learning, how we can improve the accuracy, how we can improve the fault acceptance rate and false positive rate, and so on. What kind of techniques or measures to measure the quality of the proposed solution. And the last paper was about how we can use feature selection to improve the performance as well in terms of the cost. So we can minimize even the processing cost for the authentication process using smart or implicit authentication based on the behavior of the smarts of the users. So in general, maybe the cost, as I said, the usability is a challenge in the using authentication or security in smartphones in general. And so we need just to find ways just to minimize the cost and make the authentication process easy for the users. So they will not need to remember anything. They will not need an extra devices or sensors to be added to the smartphones. So this multi or behavior-based authentication would be one of these solutions to address these problems. I understand this is not, as I said, this is not, there is no at the moment like a standard or benchmark or method just to be used for behavior authentication. There is lots of research around this point, but I think there's as a promising area for research for further investigation about the challenge facing the user for this authentication.